Hi there, my name is Tami. I'm super thrilled to be here with you today and to be part of this amazing group. For the next 10 minutes, I'm going to tell you about a project that's basically turned my entire professional experience upside down. It's flipped the way I think about pictures and the role that I can play in this universe of science and visualization. So I was trained as a medical illustrator, like many of us in this room. And I spent the first 15 years of my career as a professional hands-on producer of pictures and other forms of visual communication. So I'm just running through a little bit of my work. And I still do this today for biotech companies, for universities, including the University of Washington, where I live in Seattle, and also for clients like Scientific American and The Scientist magazine. But about 5 years ago, I started working on a project that would eventually be called SPARC. And this was a collaboration with another medical illustrator named Betsy Pele in the Bay Area. And this project was sparked by the realization that this really specialized knowledge that we medical illustrators have, our knowledge and our training, it's really underutilized in science communication. So let's do a quick thought exercise. If we imagine that this circle represents all of the science pictures in the universe that are created. So think of all of the journal figures, all of the science posters, the PowerPoint slides, the graphical abstracts. I would argue that just a teeny fraction of those were made by professionals like myself. And that the vast majority are being made by people who actually weren't trained to make pictures. So, of course, it's not uncommon for scientists to use pictures to communicate. But more often, this is how scientists are talking to each other. And this is kind of a problem for the rest of us, or really for anyone who is outside of the very narrow field that this scientist is working in. And when scientists do make pictures, they often fail at their primary purpose, which is clear communication. So science pictures that look like these, they can create problems not only for other scientists, but also for patients or parents, policymakers. These are people who are trying to make really important decisions about really important topics. And I don't think it's a stretch to say that our lives depend on science communication. So this is what ignited this idea for SPARC. We decided that the amazing power of pictures to communicate is largely untapped. The world isn't benefiting from the amazing power of pictures, so we decided to create a course to empower scientists to use these skills. And so SPARC is a 3-hour online course that teaches 5 strategies for visual communication of science. And our objective in creating this course was to change forever the way that scientists think about pictures and use them in their work. And SPARC is an acronym. So we developed these 5 strategies that we decided were the most effective for science. And this is based on us being medical illustrators and years of kind of doing this work, developing best practices, and sort of seeing what was going on out in the field. And the course leads participants step by step through these strategies. And so if they follow along and do a hands-on project in this course, they will start with words, and they will end up with a picture at the end of the course. And SPARC is not a list of do's and don'ts. So there's a lot out there that's very prescriptive. Don't use yellow text on a white background. Don't use 8 different kinds of fonts. And that's not what our course is about. Our course really teaches how pictures communicate. It's based on core concepts of visual communication, and then we teach how to use them broadly. So things like figures or illustrations, data visualization, or posters. And one of the most interesting things we've learned in developing SPARC is that many non-artists, and I might put scientists and technical folks in this category, they think that making pictures is this mysterious, unknowable magic that happens in artists' brains. And it isn't, they think it's something that can't be learned. And we know that this just isn't true. So people don't seem to realize that making pictures is based on knowledge that can be accessed and learned by anyone. And I've experienced this firsthand, where I've done some science communication mentoring at the UW, University of Washington, in Seattle. And I've sat with graduate students, and I've sort of given them feedback on their comics or their infographics or their illustrations. And when I give them feedback that's based on how we read or how we think or how we see, they furiously take notes, and often the table will go silent. And even one of my fellow mentors did this. Like, they just don't realize that these are skills, like that we are using skills and making intentional decisions, that we're not just making stuff that looks pretty, but there's actual like research and decision making happening behind the work that we're making. So in SPARC, we emphasize that we're all born visual thinkers and communicators, and that actually we've been doing this since before we were writing. And many scientists we found, or people who are new to this field, can be very intimidated by the idea of making a picture. And so we developed a really fun and easy way to sort of jumpstart that visual thinking for them. And we call it making a visual menu. And it's quick, and it's easy to do, and it really gets you out of word mode and into picture mode. And SPARC contains lessons and worksheets that will guide participants in how to speak with visual language. We emphasize the importance of understanding who their audience is, and I know you've heard that before already today. And we provide ways to target the sweet spot for that particular audience. And we also give tips for communicating to people who aren't familiar with your topic. And that is one of the biggest challenges, I think, in science communication. So I have a quick, if it works, 30-second video that shows you the SPARC process in action, starting with words and ending with a picture. Yes. So who is taking SPARC? Who stands to benefit from taking a course like this? Well, right now, we have people in 17 different countries who are checking it out. And currently, there are graphic artists taking SPARC. Even though this is stuff that we think we know, creating this program has definitely informed the way I approach my work. And it gives you a different perspective on the decisions you make and how you start projects. There are also physicians, laboratory groups, individual research scientists, and all logging on and watching our videos. And if I can do a quick shout out to the state of Louisiana, we entered into a special relationship with Louisiana Tech University, where they're providing SPARC to all of their faculty, undergraduates, and graduate students. In the engineering school, the School of Design, and the biology department, they also have an entrepreneurship program too that is using this. And so we're hoping to develop more relationships with institutions that can really use this kind of teaching and apply it to broad departments. So pictures have another benefit, another bonus to offer scientists. So in addition to being used in an explanatory way, a lot of what we've talked about today to communicate to others, pictures also can be used in an exploratory way for problem solving and for clarifying your own thinking. And here we go. We've got the sketches from the notebooks of Francis Crick and Charles Darwin. And these depict two of the most important concepts in modern science. And they were both developed and shared through visual thinking and through sketching. Okay, so I have 3 things I want you to take home with you today. One is that there is value in what we know as science visual communicators. And that value is just as important as the value of what we do. So our skill is not just in our hands and our eyes, but it is in our knowledge and in our brains. 2, people love science. And we're seeing a great interest in science communication. And I think that's why we're all here today. There's a growing appreciation for comics in science and medicine. And I've been really thrilled and amazed to see the popularity of the SciArt hashtag on Twitter, and to see what people are showing and talking about at the I Am SciArt and the I Am SciComm rotating Twitter accounts. There's so much stuff going on out there related to science and design and art. And graphical abstracts are now being encouraged for submission to scientific and medical journals, and that's huge. So on that note, a quick aside. I want to tell you a quick visual communication story that I just love. In 2017, Karen Chang, who's a design professor at the University of Washington, she set up a little team of people and secured an NSF grant to conduct research about design and science communication. And what they did is they redesigned several of these graphical abstracts that are appearing in the table of contents of the Journal for American Chemical Society. And they applied some basic design principles, and then they conducted user testing. And the 50 participants in their study, these are not slouches. These were people in applied math, bioengineering, chemistry, chemical engineering, electrical engineering, environmental and occupational health, materials and science, physics, nanotechnology. You get where I'm going. Like, that's their test group. And so these are their results. And what they found is that the redesigned graphics performed better than the original in statistically significant ways. And science loves research and stuff like this. And here we have it. The redesigned figures improved the understanding of the paper. So the test subjects felt they had a better sense of what the paper was going to be about. The redesigned figures also enhanced the attributes of the writing. They made the readers expect the papers would be written clearly. And the figures also made the paper seem interesting. And this is just looking at the table of contents. This is how people choose what papers they want to read. And finally, my favorite one is on the bottom. The redesigned figures enhanced the attributes of the authors. They made them seem more intelligent and their research more rigorous. So check out the Information Design Journal if you want to read more about that study. And so my third takeaway is that in creating SPARC, we hope to contribute to the democratization of science communication. Our aim is to empower scientists and really anyone who has anything really complicated to explain to better utilize the power of pictures as portals to understanding. So if you would like to learn more, you can go to pictureasportal.com, or you can totally come talk to me. And thank you so much for your time.